opposing the government and opposing the Conservatives. I'm afraid it's the hard left who want to tighten their control. They want to sideline moderate voices. I don't think anybody should be surprised about that is the nature of the hard left. And of course, we know that the hard left famously cannot tolerate any dissent.
Who are the hard left, Chris?
Well, we know who the hard left are in the ascendancy within the Labour Party who associate with the hard left. You just said that we were right wing. It's a hard left agenda, printing money, nationalisation without compensation, which is a hard left wing position. Hard left, the hard left, hard left, the hard left, the hard left, 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 the hard left, left, left,
Mussolini won't last long, tell you the reason why. We're gonna salt his beef and hang it up to dry.
Hey, round, round, Hitler's grave, round, round we go. Gonna lay that poor boy down, he won't get up no more.
The German Army General Staff, I guess they missed connection. Went 100 miles a day, but in the wrong direction.
Hey, round, round, Hitler's grave, round, round we go.
Hey everyone, welcome to Real Politik. I'm Jack Frayne-Reed, and I'm joined, as always, on these movie episodes by my good friend, Mr. Yair Rice.
Yo.
Calling in from across the pond, as always.
I am. How's it going?
Not too bad, man. Not too bad. I'm pretty tired, but I'm looking forward to getting into some free jokes films with you, and then hopefully, getting into some pretty good stuff as well. Some stuff that's actually like really.
It's all pretty good.
It's all good. It's all good. Yeah. We got movie chat coming up, and it's all kind of themed, I guess. Today's conversation around. Right-wing totalitarianism.
Yeah, fascists.
Yeah.
Fascists everywhere.
Exactly.
Around the world unite.
Exactly. So we're not sure if it's going to be like two little episodes, so there may be a couple of like conversational wires crossed here. You may be like, what? But they haven't talked about that yet, and they said they have. But never mind. So basically...
Consider it a part 1 and a part 2, at least.
Yeah, for context... What we're doing is we're going to talk about two 1970s conspiracy thrillers, but not just any old conspiracy thrillers, a very specific subgenre of conspiracy thriller, the Nazi conspiracy thriller. No, this is not... I don't know, conspiracy thrillers, were they making them in the 1930s and 40s? Like, would... Riefenstahl have had a go at conspiracy thrillers, but no, we're not talking about conspiracy thrillers made by... I would dread to think. Well, no, you know what conspiracy they're going to be about, not in Nazi.
Yeah, they got one that they're big fans of.
Yeah, which encompasses global capitalism and global communism. But basically, yeah, just a real catch-all. But anyway, no, we're not talking about films made by Nazis, thank God. Although one of them does star Jon Voight, who's like pretty much a Nazi. No, I mean, maybe that's unfair, but he is like a pretty right-wing Republican. And also like Angelina Jolie's dad. Not everyone knows that, but I think it's just a bit of trivia for you.
Good to know, yeah.
So the two films that we're going to do on the Nazi conspiracy thrillers from the 1970s we're going to cover are 1974's The ODESSA File and 1978's The Boys from Brazil. Let's talk about the really fucking jokes, kind of silly films about Nazis first. Because, like, we've covered films about Nazis on the show before, but it's usually been, like, Holocaust films, deadly serious. Not that there isn't kind of stuff about the Holocaust in these films, but I think The ODESSA File is genuinely a good film and a good thriller and is more serious in tone. But
yeah, I got that feeling.
It's not like straight facts, is it?
It's sort of like crossed with like a James Bond film almost, or something.
Yeah, that's just like the bit in it where John Voight has to they make him look older, and it's literally like he goes on the run from the Nazis. We'll get into like the Nazis in a second. We're always saying we'll get into this in a second and putting something on, but like basically he's on the run from the Nazis and they all are looking for him. And the Israeli intelligence service just mysteriously pick him up, and they're just like, who should we send undercover to investigate these Nazis? Oh, I know, the guy who just mysteriously vanished because we took him, who all the Nazis are looking for. And they make him...
That made no sense. I mean, oh my god.
They make him look old, by which I mean, like, not at all. It's such bad like...
no makeup. We won't use makeup, but we'll make him look... How?
Yeah, like, Mossad...
They give him a mustache, and that's, like, the only thing they do.
Mossad must just like have such better stuff by now than that. I gotta say, like, it's ridiculous, but that's the more plausible one of the two films that we're talking about. But I guess let's get like what is plausible sorted out first, which is both these films are like predicated on the very real fact that loads of Nazis after World War II just got away.
Yeah.
And didn't go up at Nuremberg or suffer really any kind of repercussions.
Yeah, the Odessa file seems to be a bit more Europe-based, the ones that got away with it and just kind of stayed where they were. And then the boys from Brazil, obviously, a little bit more global. A little bit more South American.
I mean, it's not really set in Brazil, though. That's the thing I forgot about it. Like, is it set,
Right.
Is it set in Uruguay? Something? Because that'll come up later in State of Siege. But, yeah, hang on, let me look that up, because Mengele is like, he's not actually hiding in Brazil. Paraguay. Okay. Well, yeah, okay.
Right.
So maybe Paraguay and Uruguay simultaneously had right-wing dictatorships in power, I don't know. But
a lot of those countries took in some Nazis.
Eminently plausible, yeah. Yeah. But you know who else fucking did? A little country called the United States of America. Fucking, they had the Nazis fucking build rockets.
Only the ones that were helpful to us.
You know, when they were putting people on the moon. Just think of all the poor Nazis who strived to get out of Europe. They were kindly welcomed over. Admittedly, really without much trouble. And they welcomed in by the United States of America. They worked so hard at being actively courted by the United States. And then they shut down the NASA plant, and Mary Alice gets the cancer, and they're selling a few narcotics and selling a little blow. And you know, it's like, ain't God got better things to do than punish these poor Nazi war criminals? No, sorry.
Well, I think you'll find that the United States always has and will always welcome refugees with open arms.
Yeah. You would never see them separate the beautiful Aryan scion of a vicious Nazi war criminal from that proud patriarch. No. Who cares about the mother? You know, that's not important. I can't remember what film I watched, because I've watched so many films about Nazis. but there was some fascist in it. Was just like, I hear you're pregnant. I pray for a boy or something. They just all hate women. These fascists. They hate a lot of people and things. I mean, I hate them. So.
I mean, it's their whole ideology.
Yeah. Stop the extremism. That's what I say. To quote a great orator. So, which of these two films should we talk about first? About the escaped Nazis?
I mean, I do kind of want to just get going and mention how, like, in the Odessa file, it baffled me so much how that thing at the beginning comes up with the rockets and the plague, and then seemingly never shows up again until like the very last couple shots.
Oh, right. So I messaged you about this because it's like that NASA, who was then the leader of Egypt, wanted to bomb Israel with rockets full of bubonic plague and escape...
And something else.
It's some other thing, but I just heard plague.
Yeah.
I probably didn't understand
some other
the
nasty
other
chemical.
word. Yeah. I was just like, oh, what does that get you high or what? But no, it's basically, they want to drop plague on, not coronavirus, literal fucking plague on Israel, like real biblical shit. And
revenge, for that plague thing.
They're gonna kill every firstborn child. No, but basically, hopefully, God will retaliate with like some locusts and shit, and then he'll part the seas and no. But the Nazis are like, what are they hooking them up with the plague and shit? They've got like, I've got the like a guy with a big overcoat,
I guess what it
like
is...
opening it up like him. I've got vials of the heaviest plague known to the heaviest plague on the streets, man.
Yeah, from what I recall, it was something like there's a factory in Germany and the workers don't realize that they're working for them, but like I guess the Nazis are facilitating, but it doesn't really come up in the main plot. It's only at the very end they mentioned that, oh yeah, there was also this arson at the factory and the rockets never flew.
Oh, right.
That's it.
Hey, nice one. I think they imply, though, that the Nazis like burned down the factory to cover their asses.
Yes.
Because they were so shook because they've been undercover. But yeah, I totally, when they said, like, in like the first fucking scene, that thing about, like, we'll get the rockets and fire them on Israel with the plague, I literally messaged you like, yo, is this legit? I was like, yeah, mate, no, I don't know if this is this some like great
I feel like it's something I've heard, but I don't know. I've not done any research on the validity of the story.
Okay, yeah.
The movie claims that it's based on research.
Yeah, so I did listen. I listened to like some podcasts. The thing with podcasts is like without listening to like a bunch of the episodes, you if you're just looking for one on a particular subject, you never really know necessarily, unless they're like blatantly obvious about it, where the host is coming from politically and their guest as well.
Right.
So I listened to this podcast, which was basically saying with the ODESSA file, they were like, "Oh, great film, but it's complete nonsense." And they had this guy on who wrote a history book about the Nazis' escape route out of Europe and how it was, it's basically just the thing, like it was less of an organised conspiracy, but yeah, they were finding ways of getting out through like people trafficking through Italy a lot of the time, and motivated by a combination of financial and ideological motivations. But they effectively said that the ODESSA file was a load of nonsense, so that Simon Wiesenthal kind of just like wanted to believe it, and it helped.
Right.
It kind of helped his cause for people to think that it was true. And the guy like caveated. So I literally, when I say I didn't guess their politics, like I didn't think these guys were Nazi sympathizers. Like they seem pretty like against the Holocaust, which is the bar that you kind of want
hot
people
take
to clear, and when talking about the Holocaust, and also not getting into denial, I guess is the other thing. But the guy clarified, like, I really respect Simon Wiesenthal, but yeah, he sort of just bigged up all this nonsense in this case to, I don't know, maybe there are other examples of him doing it. For those who don't know him, he was he was the great Nazi hunter. How many, brought 100 or more Nazis to justice or something?
I mean, unfortunately, and I don't have sources at the moment, but I have totally heard that Simon Wiesenthal is like unreliable, to say the least. But, it's pretty clear he went through the Holocaust and everything. Like, so I'm not gonna really give him a hard time about it.
Yeah, like who among us has not like spread a bit of false news to further our political goals?
Right. I don't know, plus, like, memory's just a weird thing. You can genuinely believe that false things are true if you kind of convince yourself of it in certain ways. Like, it's... The brain is weird. Like, who knows?
Simon Wiesenthal, I don't really want to comment on him, because I don't know much about his biography, basically, other than, you know, the broad strokes of who he was. But he's a character in both of these films. He's not called Simon Wiesenthal in The Boys from Brazil, but he is in the ODESSA File. He's a much more serious character, not as big a character in the plot, but a much more less of a fucking just ridiculous clown.
Yeah. I guess he's a real person, isn't he?
What? It's probably for the best that they didn't use his name in The Boys from Brazil, because it's kind of disrespectful portrayal of him.
Right. No, to be clear, earlier when I said it's something I had heard of regarding the ODESSA File, I mostly meant the plague rockets. I don't really know about the whole, like, conspiracy. I know obviously the rat lines existed and there was all sorts of people involved with that, but yeah. I have no idea about how true the whole story is. It seems very James Bondy, and like you say, that bit where they're like, we're gonna age him. I was like, obviously less racist, but it did remind me of the Dr. No, let's yellow him up, you know? Like, just, this is totally convincing. This is a great disguise, 100%. Like, oh, the 70s, because I think Dr. No was 70s, or was it late 60s, something like that.
It was early 60s. It was
ride.
Dr. No came out in 1962, I think. It was like
my bad. Early
the first
60s.
Bond film, wasn't it?
Did I say, what do I mean to say? I said Dr. No, I did not mean Dr. No, I meant You Only Live Twice.
Oh, yeah, that was 73.
The one that was written by Roald Dahl.
Yeah, with
around the same time as the ODESSA File.
Oh, no, sorry, I'm thinking of Live and Let... Right? Did you say You Only Live Twice?
You Only Live Twice is the one where he yells up, not Dr. No.
That's 1967. Yeah, I was thinking of Live and Let Die. But yeah, You Only Live Twice is crazy. But basically, this is a good James Bond film, the ODESSA File. Like, as that kind of thing goes, like, it's not like a weird fucking film like Clint Eastwood's The Eiger Sanction, which was his weird James Bond knockoff from around this time. No, it's actually pretty good. There's some like really good tense sequences, like the one which is just kind of total silence until he just fucking like just goes at the guy, and then the guy, it's just crash, and then the guy gets impaled on the machine on the printing press. Like,
yeah, that was great. That was classic. A Bond fight type scene. Yeah. What did you think of at the end where like it revealed, as if it, like, I mean, there's obviously hints, but it's revealed clearly that he's not seeking revenge over this Jew per se. He's avenging his father.
I thought it was a bit lame. I was like, this is just kind of... It's almost like they had to make it like palatable to the American audience or something. Like, you know, they're gonna make
get this whole
like what
Jewish thing.
Like,
what?
You seriously? You're actually like putting your own neck out for like some Jews, and then but Americans, you know, they understand about family, blood, soil, honor,
Nazi ideals.
yeah. So it's just a little sop to reaction, I suppose. I
thought it was pretty cheap as well.
Yeah, that was a lame ass bit of the film. Actually, you're totally right on that. You know what the single fucking funniest bit of the film is? It's right at the start. So the film is like set on the. It starts on 22nd of November 1963. The day that will live on in infamy.
Yes!
President Kennedy was a riding high, a good day for living and a good day. Well, listen to the full 17 minutes Murder Foul if you want. But,
I was really, really hoping it was going to like also be a JFK conspiracy thriller.
No, but there is like a small bit. There is a JFK conspiracy theory within the thriller.
Oh, yeah.
Which is like
I must have blinked and missed it. I don't know.
they're just like, so John Voight is just driving along and he hears like the fucking JFK assassination news on the radio, and he pulls over and he's like, oh no, this is terrible, JFK's been killed. And then I somehow that's when he gets involved in the Nazi stuff, because he sees all these Nazis. But basically, like, the Nazis, then it cuts to them, the Nazis are like having a secret conversation. I can't remember if they're probably all in a room together rather than on the phone, because it would be might be bugged. But like they're like, killing President Kennedy should have bought us some time. And it just like suggests that these escaped, not even, they're literally still in Germany at large, and like senior roles in society. These like at large Nazis killed President Kennedy as a decoy to take the heat off the fact that they were planning to drop missiles full of bubonic plague on Israel in collusion with NASA. Not NASA, the American organization who were also in collusion with Nazis. NASA of Egypt.
It's some
fame.
real 4D chess, you know?
Yeah. So they just bump off the President of the United States just to take the heat off this thing that they don't even end up doing. And so yeah, he follows an ambulance for some reason. I don't know why. And it's on the...
You ever just follow an ambulance?
Yeah, as you do. And it's on the route to pick up the body of an elderly Jewish Holocaust survivor who committed suicide, leaving behind no family. And he gets the guy's diary, and it talks about his life in the Riga ghetto, and names the SS officer who ran the camp, Edward Rochman. So John Voight is like, I'm going to hunt this bastard down, because like it turns out he's heard this thing about how this guy just like shot his dad.
I mean, it totally did stand out to me that that's like the only German he killed, and then in the next scene or the scene after it, he's talking to his mom about his dad didn't survive the war.
Yeah, it's like, yo, this guy shot a German. Yo, that's where I fucking draw the line.
He's not just killing Jews.
You can't do that, man. You can't kill my dad. I mean, I guess it's like a human response, but on the other hand, like,
True.
Yeah, such a bad plot point.
I mean, it could have been for both reasons, like, but instead he's like, no, I didn't do it for that.
Yeah,
it's just about my daddy.
I mean, he does kill him to his credit.
Yeah.
But
any dead Nazi is a good Nazi.
Yeah, and then he like leaks the ODESSA files, and the Nazis decide not to drop the plague on Israel and so on. But like, yeah, it's like another incredibly funny, obviously the funniest bit is like, killing President Kennedy should have bought us some time. But like the second funniest bit is, I don't know why I find this so funny, but like John Voight, he goes to the Nazi meeting and he's like really obviously taking photographs and they're just giving this like awful speech, and it's like the classic Nazi spiel of like, we need to go beyond left and right by doing all these right-wing things that are very, very frighteningly right-wing. And then they basically notice him, and that's when they're onto him, they're looking for him.
Right,
but
they notice him almost immediately. Like, his disguise lasts about one scene.
Well, I mean, what are they do they not have a lot of like blonde-haired, blue-eyed guys around? Like, John Voight is the most fucking...
The only guy, yeah.
Yeah, no, it's not just his politics that mean he'd fit in, you know? He's like really Aryan looking. But basically, like, he goes back to his girlfriend and he's like, god damn it, I thought this was finished. I thought it was all over, but it's the same old mentality. You should have seen them. And it's like, yeah, dude, like, the far right.
It's almost like it's the same exact people.
Yeah, literally, like, none of these people were punished. Well, some of them were, obviously, but, like, there is just, I can't remember if it's just which of these films it's in, or if it's in a podcast I listened to or something, but there was this one particular German police department in like the 1960s. Is it something in the ODESSA file that like Wiesenthal shows him? It's like every officer is a Nazi, and I'm pretty sure maybe I actually drew that from like some fact-based thing I read or heard, because Yeah, it sounds quite plausible, but like all the like top brass, because that was after the war, the kind of the Western powers.
They were treated as basically being innocent because you weren't like in the SS. You were just in the police battalions, you know.
Yeah, but they wanted like skilled people, and especially like even Germany itself. Like, they wanted those Nazis who had made Nazi Germany what it was, like, you know, in its sick, fascistic form of strength. You know, like, they wanted those people to rebuild Germany, and not just that, but, like, America wanted them, Britain wanted them.
Denazification was like, okay, let's keep them out of the very top spots, but otherwise, I mean... if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Even though it was obviously very broken.
One of the things was that various intelligence services around the world wanted the Nazis to teach them new methods of torture.
Yeah.
That is definitely an actual thing, and the same thing is true in Italy, where obviously there are a massive amount of dregs of Mussolini's fascist regime operative in society after the Second World War.
Also supported by, like, the United States.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, the United States had Operation Gladio, which was their policy of supporting regime change in Italy. Like, they rigged, was it the 1946 Italian elections, pretty blatantly. There's the scene in JFK when Donald Sutherland's character is doing, like, the rapid-fire spiel about, like, how the deep state killed JFK. And he's like, yeah, man, I, like, fucking... took out Mossadegh in Iran. It was me who rigged the Italian election in 1946. And it's just part of the historical record, but, well, at least in Oliver Stone's JFK. But I think a lot of people acknowledge that this stuff happened. But, but there was always a great demand in the Cold War for methods of right-wing repression that could keep communists down, effectively. And many of the people who had the specific set of skills, whatever Liam Neeson would call it, were drawn from the old fascist regimes of the 1930s and 40s.
Yeah, it makes logical sense. Ask a right-wing authoritarian how to do right-wing authoritarian stuff.
Yeah, totally. And, you know, we'll get into more of this stuff with State of Siege, which is about a guy who goes around the world, not an ex-Nazi, an American, who goes around the world and basically teaches the police how to torture people.
Yeah, and it's a behind-the-scenes thing in Missing, I would argue.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, so the ODESSA file... I'm trying to think if there's anything more to say about this, because it's kind of... I think... it is slightly melding together in my mind with the boys from Brazil.
The only other thing I was going to quickly say, while we were talking about ways in which Jon Voight's character was the worst spy ever, like calling his girlfriend while on a mission.
Oh yeah,
undercover,
what a fucking idiot!
Twice,
and he's literally just like, oh yeah, I'm just at fucking Berlin Station. And she's like with her like Nazi handler in the room. She's like, "Oh, what? You're at Berlin Station, did you say? I repeat, Berlin Station." It's so dumb, that stuff. Like, there are some real stupid ass moments in this fucking thing.
Also at the beginning, not at the beginning, but at the beginning of like when he meets the Mossad cell, and they're like, okay, we need you to go infiltrate this group for some reason, because you're for some reason the perfect guy. What happened to the last two guys? Oh, they died. Like that's when you're like, maybe I don't trust this cell's like training. I don't know.
Yeah, but it's just like all around the absolute shittest thing. I thought what was going to be hilarious. I couldn't remember all the details of the film when I rewatched it, and before he blows his own cover like a fucking idiot, when that Nazi is fully convinced that he's a former SS guy, he is like, okay, I'm gonna get you on our guy. He's like a specialist, and I was hoping he'd be like some Nazi plastic surgeon, and he'd give him a new face and shit. And then John Voight might actually look older. But no, he's just a guy who like prints fake passports and documents and shit. I guess kind of like what the guy who was saying that the Odessa network wasn't actually real in that podcast I listened to was talking about in Italy, where there were certain people who, for certain reasons, but it's like some weird dude who's just like, the Nazis have got him, and he's like a real mama's boy.
He's like a Nazi nerd.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, well, he's like, the Nazis won't kill me if I play real nice with them or something. I don't know. He doesn't get killed or anything though, does he? He just like fucks off.
No, he just fucks off.
Yeah, the Nazis tell him to go, and he's like, "Oh, okay, I'll just leave my mum here with you." And she's like bedbound, and it's like a real Norman Bates psycho relationship with the mother. And yeah, she's like speaking really loud as well, because that's the thing, it's a brilliantly suspenseful scene when John Voight is like tiptoeing down the stairs and sneaking up on the Nazi. But just before that, you just have this old lady like, "Oh, are you my grandson?" She's going all Joe Biden on him.
Hello, Joe.
All in all, a very jokes film.
Yeah. Just like pretty funny, and this is like the more serious one of the two films.
Certainly a little more plausible, because like, yeah, with the passport guy and stuff, they definitely are. There was bits of, oh, that could be real here and there in between the, oh my god, this is ridiculous, what are you doing?
I wonder if there's any more like detail in the Wikipedia synopsis for the novel about the JFK stuff. JFK.
I want to know more about how the Nazis killed JFK.
Yeah, like, well, I guess it was like with Mike Gapes and the well, it was the boys from Brazil who did it, I reckon, because that's the thing. Like, the
same universe.
Yeah, exactly. People who listen to Gapecast will know that in the episode of Gapecast that was a 17-minute song about how he killed JFK, there was the line about Stormzy, his butler from when he grew up in Vienna, who was called Stormzy because he used to be a stormtrooper, and and there's a line that says, "Dear old Stormzy gave me names of certain men who shared our aims. He called them boys. They were from Brazil to help us with our righteous kill." And indeed, it turns out that Mr. Gapes has been diddling around with the old cloning technology or whatever.
Oh, what a bastard.
Yeah, exactly. So there's a lot of little... Let's just say, when Mike Gapes not only...
He's got his CRISPR out.
Mike Gapes not only contains multitudes and many souls, he actually, there's actually like multiple Mike Gapes clones wandering the earth. But
I almost spat beer out there, thank you, Jack.
I'm just JFK Kennedy, literally just one. Maybe they added in the bit about the Nazis killing JFK for the film because it doesn't mention it on the fucking Wikipedia page for the book at all. But for the 70s conspiracy thriller nuts, the book was written by Frederick Forsyth, who also wrote The Day of the Jackal, which was adapted into a good old conspiracy thriller for the cinema. And that's about...
I've heard of it, but I haven't seen it.
Wait, who are the OAS? A short-lived right-wing French dissident paramilitary organisation during the Algerian War, who they tried to kill de Gaulle. The movie's about that. Anyway, so that guy's got some real like skin in the conspiracy thriller game.
Right on.
Let's get to the boys in Brazil.
The boys from Brazil, as we discussed, they're not in Brazil.
Oh yeah, sorry, why did I say the boys in Brazil?
It's an easy mistake to make.
What was I don't even know.
I was just pulling your leg.
No, you're right. The boys from Brazil. Yeah, I guess that they were cloned in Brazil, but none of... So this film... just crazy. just crazy film. The main characters in it are, it's a real like battle of the titans. It's like one of those epic rap battle of history music videos or something on YouTube. It's like, you know, it's like Mengele, Joseph Mengele, the sick bastard who did experiments in the concentration camps, played by fucking Atticus Finch himself, Gregory Peck, and Laurence Olivier as quote unquote Ezra Lieberman, aka Simon Wiesenthal, in the worst performance probably of his entire career.
Hands down, from what I've seen, yeah.
So this is really like two heavyweights going toe to toe. Both pretty bad, I think, actually. Peck is a bit better. I will say, I don't know if this is just fake news, but apparently when they found Mengele, he actually did look quite a lot like Gregory Peck in the movie, with like the same moustache and everything.
I think so, from what I've seen, yeah.
So Mengele was found in 1979, wasn't he? A year after this film came out? Am I right? No, he died in 1979. Oh wait, so he was never caught.
Yeah, he was never caught.
Ah, for fuck's sake! The Stammers. I thought that said the Stammers there. I was like, their friendship with Mengele. His son went to visit him in 1977, and he found an unrepentant Nazi who claimed he had never personally harmed anyone and only carried out his duties as an officer. And then, he died in 1979. So, okay, I thought that he was, like, found and arrested in 1979, so I completely had it wrong, because I thought there might have been, like, some kind of worth to this film in, like, making people aware that Mengele was at large and eventually clearing the path to him being brought to justice. Nah, completely wrong.
Yeah, I think Eichmann's the only really big one that was caught. Yeah, Mengele got away.
Fuck. Because he did, like, really terrible stuff. I don't really...
he did all kinds of awful shit, yeah.
I don't entirely know. Obviously, anyone guilty in any way in the Holocaust is a criminal, but what he did is, like...
He made it personal.
It's like he just piled on extra crimes, I guess. Just kind of...
Right, yeah, because he was doing it out of his own choice. Nobody told him, yo, Mengele, we need you to go inject dye into these people's eyes to see if their color will change.
Fuck.
You know,
so
nobody
that's the
told
kind of...
Nobody told him to inject gasoline into people's hearts and see what would happen, you know? Like, these were his decisions, like...
I was just listening...
Yeah, it's got a certain extra level of malice to it.
I was just listening. I guess what makes this, like... These films are a laugh, but it's, you know, hard to like find it all too funny when... In the last couple of days, I've taken in a couple of different, like... I guess not even... No, one of them was first-hand, but a couple of sort of, like, people's accounts of the Holocaust, how they experienced it. And one of them was just... This was totally second-hand, how I heard this, but it was Roger Waters of Pink Floyd on Michael Moore's podcast, which I was listening to earlier. And Roger Waters is like big on Palestine and BDS, so I mean he's been accused quite a lot of anti-Semitism, but he like audibly starts crying in this conversation, talking about... He doesn't when he's talking about his father's death in World War II, fighting Rommel's forces, but he does when he then starts talking about the Holocaust, and he mentions that there was this woman he knew in England after the war who was completely damaged. He says she was a lovely woman, but she was completely damaged beyond all repair because she's just haunted by the fact that in the camps where she was for 4 years, Mengele had forced her to help him with his experiments. But that's like the other sick thing he did, as well as like what he did to Jewish people, is that he forced Jewish people to do those things to other Jewish people.
Yeah, I mean that was actually a common thing across many of the camps. You get the victims complicit in their own destruction, and you turn them against themselves. You know, as well as it being quite torturous in itself. I mean, like
totally.
Looking at like the people who had to work in the crematorium were always Jews. You know.
Yeah. Yeah, the other account I heard of the Holocaust was Roman Polanski's first-hand account, and that's just really, really heavy. I think we should move back onto the boys from Brazil.
We could maybe get into that on another episode sometime, but yeah, let's maybe steer back to the more lighthearted.
Yeah. So it's not for me to say like how seriously one should take some kind of historical aberration like the Holocaust, but I think that you can laugh at bad works of entertainment about very serious things.
Yeah.
And sometimes the thing is funnier because it's like,
why did they do it?
It's so kind of bizarre, and it's taking stuff of such weight and magnitude, and just making such an absolute mockery of it that it's just not a literal mockery. Like they're not like laughing, they're not taking the piss out of.
Yeah,
no,
like the Nazis are still the bad guys.
They are literally taking the piss out of a Holocaust survivor though in this, because the way that they portray Simon Wiesenthal is just as this like utter fucking klutz, just this
puttering old man.
Yeah. There's definitely like a Jewish word for like the kind of Jewish stereotype that they portrayed him as in this film, which, as I said earlier, he's not portrayed as in the Odessa File. He's a character of much more gravity in that. I mean, I guess he was a bit of an eccentric old man, but this film really like takes it to the nth degree. It's hard to get into talking about how funny it is now after like just talking about the real facts of the Third Reich.
It's a real emotional U-turn.
It's a real roller coaster.
One thing that I thought was curious, right? So like the plot basically entailed they're cloning Hitler, right?
Yeah. Not Gates. Not Gates.
And trying to like not just clone him but also recreate him through social like conditioning or whatever.
They're gonna kill 94 guys.
Why did they clone him with like black hair and blue eyes? He had the black hair, sure, but like the blue eyes? Didn't he not have brown eyes? I can't. Maybe I'm completely tripping, but I could have sworn that Hitler had brown eyes.
Should we look up a colour picture of him? Hitler colour photo. Oh god! Oh, I'm going on a list. Now I'm worried. You definitely you definitely get on more lists if you're looking up like pictures of Lenin or like young Stalin. I don't know, dude. It's kind of hard to tell in these old pictures what colour Hitler's eyes were.
I've just always heard.
Gotta say, dude. No, his eyes look pretty blue in this, actually, man. Like, hang on. I'm just gonna send you this photo. Are they
colorized? Because I'm seeing one.
This one. I don't know if it's like colorized though, or what. Maybe some Nazi colorized it and gave him blue eyes just to like spread fake news.
This page is saying that he had blue eyes, but it's also saying he had brown hair, not black hair.
I guess dark brown.
Yeah, I don't know. It just did not like. It looked like they're obviously going for Hitler, but it did not look that Hitler to me. And his eyes, obviously, all the eyes that were fake blue were very obviously fake blue.
Oh right, yeah.
In the movie, no, I don't know. Yeah, like that was just something that baffled me. He didn't look particularly Hitlerish, but oh well, whatever. It's a ridiculous movie.
But it's the same young boy who plays all these kids whose fathers have just been killed at the same age as Hitler's father was killed, and like they're basically, it turns out they've been running again, just like the Nazi conspiracy, the dregs, the leftovers from World War II, who obviously are vast and have a terrible amount of power. They ran a kind of Nazi adoption agency where people who are like an older guy with a much younger woman, literally at a specific exact age, they get a kid who turns out to be a clone of Hitler. and all these 94 men who are all, because they have to have the same social position as the Hitlers as well. So like all the men are like minor civil servants.
It's bizarre what's really important to making a Hitler.
I just kind of feel like, isn't just...
Shouldn't they have all been alcoholics? I'm sure his dad was an alcoholic.
I think they do say at one point, like, oh, all he did... One of the mothers says all he did was drink and, like, abuse his son or something. But like, I don't know, maybe he didn't... Maybe there wasn't a drink part. But
not to mention all the, of course, social factors outside the home. Like
that is what I was thinking.
stuff.
So, like, this is... When is this film set? Like, around the time that it...
Are they going to start World War III and have them all fight in it?
Yeah, I guess the film is just supposed to be contemporaneous to its release. So 1978 or 1976.
I want a sequel.
And the book came out. Well, they fucking leave it open at the end because old Simon Wiesenthal, who in this film, as we say, is just an absolute dipshit. Like he just suddenly is like, oh, we can't.
I'll leave Hitler.
We can't kill baby Hitler because that's bad. Even though he's not even a baby, he's like a snotty adolescent cunt who, in my opinion, none of the little Hitler boys are nice. They
just
all
know he listens to too much Iron Maiden.
the bit right, we're not obviously not going through this chronologically, but like the bit right at the end is like they show a little Hitler boy and he's like hanging up pictures of like dead Mengele in his creepy little like photo room, like, and it's just like, yeah, this guy's a sick fucking bastard. Like, he's gonna grow up to
at the very least he's a serial killer.
Yeah, he's gonna do, and just the fact that like the dogs are trained to kill, or rather they're trained to like recognize guns. Somehow they know if someone's got a gun. Right, again, I said the single funniest bit of the Odessa file, obviously the JFK bit. The single fucking funniest bit of the boys from Brazil is Gregory Peck as Joseph Mengele's scream, which he does twice. One when he's wrestling on the floor with Simon Wiesenthal, and Wiesenthal fucking bites him. And the other time is when he gets bitten, not to death, that happens afterwards, but I think it's the first time that he gets bitten
He
by...
gets mauled a couple times. Yeah.
Little Hitler's vicious dogs. So like basically him and Wiesenthal, they like start having it out and wrestling, and he's like
Spot on.
So I'll stop now, but like it's I'll have to get a clip of it because it's mad. It's like a monkey scream. He shoots fucking Wiesenthal, this like frail, doddering old man, like 3 times or so, and it's literally like a Clint Eastwood thing. Like he just falls over, and then he's in the hospital like the next scene, totally fucking lucid, just like, I will burn the list of little Hitlers so you don't get to kill Hitler and prevent World War III. Like I say, just terrible performance from Laurence Olivier as quote-unquote Ezra Lieberman.
Was he getting scale or something?
No, I think quite the opposite. I think he got paid a good salary, and
he just phoned it in.
Yeah, that was all he needed. Yeah, just a mad film in all sorts of ways. Though I'm just trying to just an example of like what a fucking idiot the Wiesenthal character is in it. He's totally uninterested when that young man is like, "Oh, I've got Mengele here." And Simon Wiesenthal's like, I know Mengele is active. Who gives a fuck? And it's like, dude, this guy like allegedly bigged up a load of questionable stuff about the ODESSA file. I'm sure he would have made a bit of noise about Mengele, but he just paused.
The idea that a famous Nazi hunter wouldn't be interested in one of the biggest living Nazis.
Yeah. He's like, go off, son. Go and do it. And this guy, he's like, what is he? He's like left the young, like the IDF youth wing or something, or is it like, is it an American thing or like a global Jewish? Sorry, not a global. Sorry, not a global Jewish conspiracy, but like it's called like the Young Jewish Defense League or something.
I don't know.
But this guy has like split off from them because he doesn't want to do like their violent methods anymore. He wants to like investigate in a totally legit and above board way, like his hero, quote unquote, Ezra Lieberman. And like, although I don't know why, because like this guy is a complete clown. But yeah, he's the one who Lieberman burns the list of little Hitlers of in the end.
Oh, by the way, tangent, but I got my letter from the Israeli government saying that my draft has been deferred.
Oh, nice, man. That's great news.
It's official.
You know, yay!
At the ripe young age of 27, like 10 years after I was supposed to get it sorted. Anyway,
so does that mean you don't have to do it?
Yeah, that means
Sweet.
that they can't draft me anymore.
Nice. That's cool, man. Draft dodging is like just an unequivocally good thing. Like when liberals try and attack Donald Trump on his draft dodging, it's like.
Yeah.
Not the worst thing he's done, my dude.
Yeah, probably the most relatable thing that he's done in my opinion.
Yeah, exactly. Like, yeah, you're not because of principled political reasons. I'm sure he's just a coward. But like, so what? It's the same to say. I would be scared.
It's a bit of both for me.
I'd get killed. I don't want to get killed in a war zone either. But anyway, this film. Vast right-wing conspiracy. They don't mention JFK anywhere in it, unfortunately. But yeah, I don't know. This film, what a film.
That's one way to put it. I don't regret watching it.
Yeah, I don't know if I sent you any notes about it or anything, or if I just like.
I don't think we talked about it much.
Yeah, no, I just said the performances in it were hammy and that it was really funny. Yeah, I found my messages to you asking if the NASA bubonic plague thing was legit. But yeah, I don't know. It's just a couple of interesting bits of casting in this film. You've got Bruno Ganz, who would later play Adolf Hitler, not a clone of Adolf Hitler. Play the real guy in Downfall. I love Bruno Ganz. He's a great actor. I'm always happy in whatever he shows up in. Worked a lot with Viv Werner Herzog. And you've also got Prunella Scales in this, in literally the only thing I've seen her in other than Fawlty Towers, where she plays Sybil.
Right, yeah.
I think, unless maybe there's some other film I've seen her in at some point. But yeah, like that, I totally didn't see her presence in the film coming. But I guess, yeah, one of her mums is British in it, so yeah. What I love though is just all the scenes where Mengele is like just going on these rants about what a genius he is and how his plan is like the only plan, and the other Nazis are constantly saying, "Oh, I'm not sure about this. We're gonna have to call the plan off." You know, they're just like real weak kind of guys. They're not truly committed to National Socialism in the way that he is, because they're like, the plan is over, and he's like, "No, your plan is over." There's a funny line in it that Mengele delivers that I could really imagine being delivered by Mike Gapes, which is. Oh, yeah. Mengele says, "I, the outlaw, the so-called war criminal, have created a scientific miracle." And like they're like that. The so-called war criminal thing just sounds like any like Blairite cunt on Twitter.
Yeah.
The guys who've rebranded themselves as resistance liberals in the age of Donald Trump, but who literally like did the Iraq War. Just write columns like, "People call me a war criminal. Well, here's why war crimes are good. So fuck you. So what if I am?" Yeah, I don't know. This film is interesting because it kind of explores the, I guess, potential for Mengele as a real, like, excuse this characterization in light of his genuine repugnance, but a kind of comic book villain, because he was just so evil.
He was so over the top, yeah.
The experiments, like, are just really, like we say, there's the fascist evil, which is just kind of mindless brutality, or then there's a brutality with a real ideology to it. This is like the apotheosis of that, just total like inhuman extremity. And this film, as well as another conspiracy thriller from the 1970s called Marathon Man, which would kind of make a good part of the trifecta of films with these two we're talking about today. So this film also has a kind of Mengele character, although he's a stand-in rather than the man himself, as in The Boys from Brazil. But Marathon Man is a really interesting film. It's directed by John Schlesinger, and Dustin Hoffman's in it. And I know you narrowly dodged watching a Dustin Hoffman film for today's conversation. But, yeah, basically this is a film where Dustin Hoffman finds out some stuff about, like, his brother was a CIA guy who was investigating Nazis. So obviously already bullshit, because the CIA guys were helping Nazis. He poses as an oil company executive, but is actually a government agent working for a secret agency headed by Peter Janeway, who serves as a diamond courtier for the infamous Nazi war criminal Dr. Christian Zell, in return for the latter's assistance in tracking down other Nazi war criminals. His brother is then, like, killed somehow by, like, definitely not Mengele, and this guy is, like, he's living in South Africa, living off a large cache of diamonds, and Dustin Hoffman is like, right, I'm gonna fucking get to the bottom of this. And at the same time, like, I may have misremembered this, but there's this whole fucking thing in it about how he's researching his father, who committed suicide after being investigated during the McCarthy era. And I'm pretty sure, like, the twist is, it turns out later on in the film that his father was actually a communist, and he's like, no! This shatters my entire world! Why couldn't he have been a CIA brother who protected this Mengele fucking stand-in? Like a CIA agent like my brother, yeah. This brings in the sick, twisted elements of Mengele as just sickeningly over-the-top villain. But the famous scene in this, which we actually parodied in a script that we wrote together, I think I wrote the scene in particular, but anyway, there's a lot about dental torture in this comedy script we wrote.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I remember that.
And that comes from a film where the character of Dr. Christian Sell, played by, guess who? Laurence Olivier, role reversal. He went from playing Mengele to playing Wiesenthal opposite someone else's Mengele. And he's actually a lot better in Marathon Man as the Mengele type character than he is in his appalling performance in The Boys from Brazil. There's the famous scene where he kidnaps Dustin Hoffman and he does dental torture on him, and he says, "Is it safe?" That's like the famous line that he says when he's torturing Dustin Hoffman. And yeah, if I remember correctly, that might be when he says to Dustin Hoffman, like, you know, your father, he was a communist all along. But I may have actually just totally imagined that. And that's not actually true. Who honestly knows anymore? Pauline Kael considered the film a Jewish revenge fantasy, apparently.
Okay.
Which is like, well, what's wrong with that? It was about Nazis. Like, but basically this just kind of like confirms that they definitely modelled the character on Mengele. He's called the Vice Angel, the White Angel, of course, and Mengele was known as the Angel of Death and also the Vice Angel. And that was because when he stood on the platform of arrivals to concentration camps, he looked like a white angel directing victims to their deaths. So yeah, I mean, I would quite like to rewatch Marathon Man. I didn't get around to watching it in time for our 70s Nazi conspiracy thriller chat today, but I think it's still a well-regarded film to this day.
Right on. I need to check it out.
There's a famous story of that. I know Dustin Hoffman, like, I think he actually got kind of shitty as an actor as he went as he got older, and I think, like, for a guy who prized naturalism so much, he got really fucking stagey and just over the top and just obnoxiously kind of mannered as he got older, and his performances when he's younger are kind of mannered too, to be honest, but often in an entertaining way. Now, of course, he's kind of, I think, retired, and he was accused of sexual harassment by, I think, a few people a couple of years ago, and I think his retirement kind of coincided with that. But it was a much quieter Me Tooing than some other people have received. He famously had this thing where, in order to play this character who was, as the title would indicate, a marathon runner, would honestly run a lot, just make himself really tired out and out of breath. And Laurence Olivier famously said, "My dear boy, have you tried acting?" Which is like, yeah, you've punctured the hole in the method thing there. But, like, on the other hand, like, dude, someone could have said that to you about the boys from Brazil.
Yeah.
Like,
Totally.
fucking hell. Yeah, well, maybe if you tried not overacting so much in that particular film. But, yeah, good menacing performance from Olivier as a Mengele type character in Marathon Man, but actually on balance is probably better than Gregory Peck in The Boys from Brazil, who is very entertaining, and of course being a historical figure who it's totally cool to just like disrespect and defile, not as kind of insulting as the Wiesenthal character in that film. Yeah, those are kind of like our two silly Nazi conspiracy thrillers we've watched in the last few days.
Yeah.
And I just want to say, I think the Nazi conspiracy thriller genre has really dried up. Like, every kind of Nazi exploitation film I've seen post-2000, which isn't many, just shit. There's Nazis at the Centre of the Earth, which I watched about 10 minutes of, and was like, I can't do this. This is like Sharknado. I don't know what I was expecting from Nazis at the Centre of the Earth, but... And the other thing was that Iron Sky film, which I think was part crowdfunded.
Yeah.
Really weird film. Although I will say that the black guy who has whiteface in that film, like, he goes undercover as a white guy to like infiltrate the Nazis. He looks like fucking post-plastic surgery Mickey Rourke. Yeah. So,
right.
Sadly, I'll just search Nazi conspiracy thrillers. But I think it's a subgenre that has just it doesn't specifically specify the Nazi ones. Boys from Brazil, Brass Target, rogue US Army officers plot to assassinate George S. Patton to cover up a massive theft of Nazi gold. I've not heard of that one. John Cassavetes is in it. Conspiracy. Nazi officials during World War II become involved in the final solution of the Jewish question. I guess not conspiracy theory so much as just a very real conspiracy that objectively happened. The Edge of Power. When a journalist fabricates a story that a prominent right-wing Australian politician is a Nazi sympathiser and hurts the government. Fabricated. I don't know, man. I kind of think if an Australian politician gets accused of sympathies towards the Third Reich, no smoke without fire is what I say in that regard. Marathon Man, yep, we already got that. The ODESSA file, yep, we already covered that. Valkyrie, the July 20th, my birthday, July 20th plot to assassinate Adolf Hitler and overthrow the Nazi government. That would have been sick if the day Hitler was killed was my birthday, but never mind. And then the final one they've got on here is... No, never mind. That's not a film. But the Nazi conspiracy thriller. For some reason, people were just trying it out in the 70s. They were like, let's fucking give this a go. What do you think it was? Do you think it was that so many of these people were still at large?
That has got to have been a factor, yeah. And I guess World War II is a lot more recent.
Yeah. Well, exactly. In living memory for so many people. And I guess these films were made by a generation that was kind of like moulded by World War II.
Yeah, now we kind of like to pretend we're just kind of over all that.
Yeah, end of history, you know?
Yeah.